Bali is not expensive. There are some places where it can be expensive, but don't be fooled by the price. Don't choose a more expensive place thinking the cheaper places won't be worth it. And in this video, I'm gonna tell you everything I wish I knew before coming to Bali. You guys know that Bali has been my home for, I think, 8 months in a total span of 3 years. Now this video is for travelers, digital nomads, or anyone interested in living in Bali for a longer time. And I'm gonna start by telling you where you should stay. This is very controversial, but avoid the south of Bali. Then I'm gonna explain more of that later, but now let me tell you about the places you should go to. You should go to Sidaman, very beautiful rice terraces, local life. That's where all the bamboo houses are, but you can also find affordable accommodation. Ubud. This is more touristy, but so beautiful. There's so many temples, so many nice cultural experiences. I would totally recommend you to do the sunrise hike on Mount Batur. Beautiful. Munduk. This is my favorite area in Bali, full of remote waterfalls and landscapes that resemble Jurassic Park type of environment. Lush, full of waterfalls, local temples. Don't miss the temple of Pura Besaki, which is on the hills of the highest mountain in Bali, Mount Agung, and it's just an amazing experience. It's a complex of different temples, and when you reach the top, you can do an actual Hindu ceremony and you will be given these bracelets. It's an amazing experience. But now let me tell you why the south is not the best place to stay. But if you still want to go to the south, let me tell you about the place I live at in the south, which is Canggu. This is very popular, but again, I don't think there's much to do if you're not living there. If you want to spend some days going to the gym, going to work, to cafes, meeting people, maybe going out, it's a great place to go out, then yeah, Canggu may be a good place. It's definitely not the most beautiful, you won't find many sights, the beach is not that special, but the lifestyle there, it's amazing. So this is the place that I live at because all of the community that I interact with, all of the travel bloggers, all of the creators are there. It's full of nice restaurants. I recommend you this French Polynesian restaurant called Moana. Amazing restaurant. But there's actually restaurants from all around the world. I'm always surprised to find so many international restaurants, you know, Italian, Korean, amazing. So go to Canggu for that, for a little bit of lifestyle, but don't expect anything to visit at. If you're looking for beach, go to Nusa Penida for striking, you know, cliffs and like remote beaches and amazing tropical landscapes. Now let me tell you about transport. Getting around Bali, it's not easy. And once you land in the airport, you will be bombarded by so many people telling you, taxi, go with me, you know. It's insane the amount of people that will tell you that, and it's all a scam. I'm sorry to say, but don't take a taxi on the airport. Get Grab. You can get Grab, the app that has like, it's kind of Uber, it's a rideshare app. You can also get Gojek. Those are the main apps. You will have to walk 10 minutes outside of the airport. The app will tell you where you have to go. And if these people tell you something, if they tell you, you come with me, like that's the only option, just tell them you have a bike and they will leave you in peace. Because then they will be like, oh, he knows what, you know, he knows that. Get one of those, you know, Grab or Gojek and get it, walk to the pickup point and just go with them. Now, one thing that I would love to have known before coming to Bali is that the airport of Bali has horrible Wi-Fi. So once you land there, you will be lost unless you have an eSIM. And the eSIM that I've been using for all around the world, it's called Olafly, and it's so easy to install. You just need a QR code, you activate it in your phone before landing in Bali. And once you get in Bali, you have internet, it's all working, you can get those apps, you can go to your hotel safely, get directions. So definitely in Bali specifically, it's very important to have an eSIM. I use Olafly and you can get my discount code Fonsi Abroad, or go to the link down below to get it. and yeah, get a discount on your next unlimited data plan. Now let's talk about accommodation. So in Bali, if you want to find a cheap accommodation, the best way to do it is to talk directly to the owners or the people in charge of it. But that's gonna be difficult, and that's only if you want to stay long term. That's how I found my guest houses for 200 euros a month. So if you want to book your hotel in advance, which is recommended, go to websites like Agoda. All around Southeast Asia, Agoda, it's my favorite, but you can also use Booking or Airbnb. I would recommend you Agoda because, you know, there's like always these crazy last minute discounts, 70%, 60% discount on really nice hotels. You can find mid-range hotels, like really nice hotels, for $20-30 a night. So it can be very, very cheap in Bali. Of course, in more crowded places like Canggu, prices will be a little bit more expensive. But you know, in Bali, you can spend everywhere from $4 for a hostel to $1,000 or $2,000 a night in a crazy expensive hotel. And this brings me to cost. You can be a king in Bali, live like a king with very little. But you can also, you know, live like a king and spend a lot of money. So make sure to go to places that offer good value. And this, you know, there's so many good places you can find all around internet and stay in a bamboo house for $50 a night, like this one right here in Tegalalang. And I always recommend it to my friends. It's only $50 a night and you have the whole bamboo villa for yourself. You can also pay more for bamboo villas, maybe 300, 400, 500, because they are amazing. But of course, if you are on a budget, 50 sounds better, right? So I stayed in some villas that are $50 a night, and in some that are maybe 250, like Magic Hills, like the Nude House, Kamaya, and those are actually beautiful. I did a few videos about those houses and you can check them out. It's actually, I would say, worth it, maybe for one night, for 2 nights, just to have the experience. But normally I would recommend you to stay in cheap hotels or guest houses, which is this type of hotel that it's a mix between an Airbnb and a hotel. It's just a hotel room. They will clean it every 3-4 days, but you are, you know, living in this kind of apartment complex, really small, very local, normally run by a family that lives in the house, and you just have your room, you get your key, and you have your private space. There's a common kitchen normally, so you can cook your food, even though it's not necessary, because now let's talk about food. Food is so cheap and so good. Here's where you can find the best international restaurants, and it's crazy to see how accurate the cuisine is. I've been to Spanish restaurants and they were actually pretty accurate. I've been to Italian restaurants and the pizza in Bali actually can be amazing. The smoothie bowls you can find in these places. My favorite is the Protein Island smoothie bowl with 56 grams of protein. It's a bomb for, you know, gym and fitness lovers. It's so good. So yeah, you have so many options, and you can also use Grab Food to get anything delivered to your guest house or your hotel room for so cheap. And that brings me to the next point, which is transportation between the island. Now you mostly would need to go with either a scooter that you can rent, and it's actually pretty cheap. It could be around this price right here for a whole month of bike, but you just need to know the right people and really research and compare different places. Or you can use the rideshare apps. In most places they are actually available, even if it's a small place. Especially in the south and in the touristy places, you will have apps like the ones I mentioned before, Grab or Gojek, which have different options. But my favorite option, because Bali it's such a motorcycle-centric country where cars don't have a place because they get stuck in traffic, is to go on the back of a bike and to use Grab or Gojek this way. They will give you a helmet. Make sure to ask for one because sometimes they don't give you one. Then you put it on and you just go with it. If you use a scooter, please be careful. There's a lot of tourists that do crazy things. I only will drive motorbikes myself on the north and areas like Munduk, and maybe there you can practice if you want to drive also on the south. But just make sure to be careful, especially on the south, on places like Canggu, Seminyak. The traffic can be quite crazy, so be careful with riding a bike and always wear a helmet. Don't drive under, substance accidents. I have a lot of friends who have had accidents, so please be safe. My next advice would actually be to not stick to Bali. Go to places like Nusa Penida. If you're looking for beach, Nusa Penida is it. It has some of the most incredible beaches and cliffs and, adventures. If you're looking for more of a relaxed vacation, go to Gili Islands. It has this white sand, Maldives-like beaches. So definitely really nice. Lombok, it's just another world. It's so close to Bali and you won't find many people. It's a Muslim island, so it's totally different, as Bali is a Hindu mostly island. So you will have a whole different culture and you can visit many beaches and waterfalls that are totally remote, unlike most of the things in Bali. And you can have the opportunity to, if you dare to do it, to hike Mount Rinjani, which is one of the craziest experiences I've done in my life. And if I posted this video about Rinjani, it will be right here. But guys, that was one of the craziest things I've done in my life. Only go with a tour, like an organized tour with a guide that knows how to climb Rinjani, because it's quite challenging. And once you get up there, every 2 steps you take, you will take 1 step back because of the rocks. They roll and it's steep and it's cold. You have to be prepared for Rinjani. So when to visit Bali? Now there is the wet season and then there is the dry season. So you can visit on the wet season, it will be less crowded, but it will rain. It rains a lot in Bali. Even in the dry season, it rains. So just be mindful of that. And then the dry season. So these are the dates for both of them. You can, I guess, figure it out yourself if it's worth it to come the wet season. And yeah, it will be more expensive though in the dry season. It's still pretty affordable, but definitely also more crowded. Now, if you want to live in Bali, and I'm gonna do more videos about living in Bali, you should get a guest house. That's my biggest advice. You can rent a villa if you have a little bit more money. It's not as expensive as you may be thinking. For $800 to $1,200, you can have amazing villas for yourself. But I would recommend you to get a guest house. You can get it as cheap as like $300, depending on the area, maybe $300 to $600 a month, and you will have your own place in Bali. Yeah, it's just a room and your bathroom, and then there's a common kitchen, and it's normally guest houses normally don't have a lot of rooms, so it will be very remote and a great place to be in Bali with a house to come back to. Also, you can explore the many cafes, and if I am honest, here's when I recommend you to go to the south. If you're gonna live in Bali, Canggu is a very good place. If you go west from Canggu, you will find actually the best places, but that's a secret, and I don't want you guys to be spreading this secret, because then everybody will go to the west. But places more to the west like Rerenan, which is already getting a little bit crowded, and then Sese, whatever comes next western from that, are the best places to stay. They will have nature, rice terraces, they won't be as crowded, and you'll have more peace, and you will be so close to the cafes of Canggu, so you can drive 10 minutes and you're in Canggu. So definitely take a look at that. My other tip about Bali would be to try to stay in a social accommodation when you arrive. Now, this is kind of tricky, but all of my friends who have stayed in Bali for a long while and they come by themselves, they've experienced a little bit of a loneliness that maybe in other places like Thailand doesn't happen. And this is because, if you want to meet new people in Bali, which you will eventually, the people who live in Bali for a long while is not that accessible, because they don't want to meet travelers that are not going to stay for a long time. So it's kind of, you have to get into their circle. While if you go to a hostel, you'll start meeting those travelers who are there in a short term. So my recommendation would be to go to a hostel maybe first, and maybe if it's even for the first 5 days. And Bali can be quite challenging if you don't have a planning to travel around, and you have to figure a lot of stuff out. So maybe those 5 first days can be a good way to settle in the island and get comfortable with the apps, with the Grab, with organizing your trip, and then you can head to Munduk, to Ubud, to all of those places from, I guess, the south, which would be kind of a comfort place to be at. So guys, this is all for Bali. Make sure to subscribe, give a like, and I'll see you guys in the next adventure. See you!